Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Adore Meshi and I talk about art on here. Make sure to like and subscribe if you find this video helpful. And today we're going to be talking about starting a large painting. I haven't uploaded in a while because I've been very busy with what I do best, painting. And these are quite large paintings I'm currently working on. So I thought I'd do a video on large paintings because I found that when I was earlier on in my paintings, I would always do paintings that I felt were a very safe size to do. They would be large, but they wouldn't get past I'm not too good with measurements, but I would say 3 A4 papers stacked on top of each other. Those were around the sizes I was very used to doing. And at first, thinking of, because I think every artist who does relatively small paintings has always thought about, what if I want to do a big painting? If it will help out with what I'm trying to depict, if it's going to actually have a different effect on what I make. And yes, some people are different. Some people just want to go straight into it regardless of whatever they're feeling, and they go and do it mindlessly. Some people, it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of planning out. And I would say for me, it's kind of both. I'm kind of in between. I need to plan this out. Well, as of recently, I have to do that. But usually before, I would just see a massive canvas and I need to go straight into this. And yes, then it can be very daunting at first, especially when you have a large canvas. And when I'm saying large, I'm thinking in terms of height, 4 feet high. I don't know what that is in centimeters, but 4 feet high and pretty wide, same length, let's say. So pretty large paintings, yes, can be very daunting at first, but hey, it doesn't have to be that daunting. You just really have to put your mind to it and then you can do it. Yes, so the first thing I'll be talking about is my opinions on large paintings in general. Sometimes I will go to exhibitions and I feel like it's kind of common with a lot of people. The first thing you're drawn to is the largest painting in the room. It's like a shiny large car compared to the other non-shiny large cars in a car section thingy, whatever. But it's the first thing you are drawn to because it's essentially its massive size. And it kind of draws you into what you're looking at. It's like you're stepping into the world. And it's especially very effective with any medium, actually, if it's photography, a massive print of a picture or a painting or an abstract painting. And some people might be thinking, like, I want my work to speak more. And I think the sizing of a painting really helps say a lot more in comparison to smaller paintings. Now, I've seen a lot of very small paintings and they're not usually in nature already. It's quite small. It doesn't catch your eye as much. It requires a lot of looking deep into it, which is also triggers really good critical thinking skills as well. But if you're the kind of person that you want everyone to see it, and especially if you want you to, like, the first thing for you to see, then you gotta do a big painting. And it's very scary at first, but don't be scared. The first tip is what size to get. Now, sometimes you could just mindlessly go into this specifically. I used to do that a lot. I wouldn't care what size the canvas was, or sometimes I will paint on large planks of wooden panels, let me say. And if it was big, I didn't really do the measurements or whatever, and I'll just paint on it. And that works 100%. But I feel like there's a lot of, I know and I've learned that there's a lot that comes with planning every step of the way. But another really large painting that I like is the painting of, I don't know who did it, but the painting of Mary of Aragon, one of King Henry's wives, when she's about to be beheaded and she's got this cloth around her eyes and she's kind of reaching towards it. And it's a really large painting and it makes you feel like you're there. You see everyone in the room, even the guy that's about to chop off her head, whatever, and her cousin next to her who's visibly very upset. And so size is definitely something to think about. And again, my second point is actually about don't be scared of the size of the painting. If you want to, honestly, you just have to go straight into it. Because especially with beating around the bush of, is it going to be too this? Am I capable of doing this? Because that's usually the question of, I don't think I'm able to handle this size of a painting. But really and truly, literally anybody can. Painting is just splatting paint on a canvas. It's not scary. You can do it. It's easy. Especially if you know what you're going to do, thus you have to plan. Now, a good idea with any painting really is to go in with a wash, but I would say especially for larger scale paintings. Sometimes looking at a blank white canvas, you instantly lose any idea you had for the painting, and that's not a good idea. Start with a wash. It will really help. It will help your brain to acclimatize to what you're about to step into. A lot of people recommend starting washes with burnt umber. I especially use a lot of red in my washes recently. Well, the most recent painting I'm currently doing, I'm actually using green, but using a wash of the general color vibe of the painting that you're going to use is really helpful as well. If you're going to do quite a dark painting with, let's say, dark purples, you would want to have the wash be like a dark, washy sort of purple. If it's going to be lighter, go for a brighter yellow, a pink, a red. Then again, you can leave it white. But I would recommend, though, if you're going to leave it white, especially if this is a canvas that you have bought and not made, or let's say like a pre-gessoed canvas, it will be very helpful to put another wash of white gesso over it. If you don't know what gesso is, it's a medium. There's acrylic-based gesso and there's oil-based gesso, I think. I don't know if there's any more other than that, but it's essentially what is put on a canvas to help you paint on it smoothly instead of it absorbing right into the whatever canvas you're using, if it's linen, or I used to use calico, or any other canvas material. So yes, start with a wash. Very helpful. Good idea. Another thing, moving into, you might think of, how am I going to map out what I'm going to paint? And I think this is more figurative. For abstract paintings, because I'm not too familiar as well, I don't know if people usually go in with mapping out what they're going to do. I always, for some reason, think it's quite spontaneous, but I don't think it's spontaneity. I think just it's more free, so you don't have to do too much planning. So when I'm talking about mapping out, I'm talking about specifically figurative painting. Now that I have at least 3 different methods here, you can go freehand, which is what I enjoy to do, the grid method, or you can use a projector to trace out. Now, as for the freehand method, that is what I do. I find that it helps me to work on my drawing skills. And what I do anyways, when I'm drawing from a reference or when I'm painting from a reference, I'll first sketch it out into my sketchbook. I won't say dumb it down, but make it into a duré terms in my head. Let's say I'm drawing myself, I will redraw myself in a sketch and then draw the mapping out from there onto my canvas, so I can understand, because sometimes it's really confusing drawing a straight figure from the reference, from a human reference, animal reference, whatever. It can get really long. So I recommend really sketching first. And especially with this freehand, I find it also adds this really cool effect with the painting or the drawing, because it doesn't look too much like the reference, which I'm not a huge fan of personally. I don't do it much. I enjoy when the painting or the figures in the painting look quite distorted, quite different to what reality is. And yes, you could also use the grid method. Now, this is the method that I've actually never used. I don't plan on using ever, because specifically remember in A-level art, one of my friends, she used to use it a lot, and her painting would look like a spitting image of the reference, and it's just amazing. This is a very technical method, and to explain it in a nutshell, imagine a maths textbook when you have the grids and you've got the numbers, and then you put the same grid on a face, let's say, and put out the numbers, and I'll put a reference of it, but it's kind of a game of mix and matching. And it's I think a lot of people say it's very easy. I just can't find it easy. I don't know. I think I lose count or something. I tried it one time, but I just ended up erasing out and starting freehand. But that's my personal thing. The art is so very subjective. It's all on personal preference. And yes, and if this works for you, you are a superstar, because teach me. Yes, or you could use this method I've always wanted to try because it sounds so efficient. The method of using what's it called again? A projector to trace. So essentially you will need a darker room and a projector to project what you're going to draw out onto the canvas, and just go straight into there and start drawing and mapping out what you're going to do. And to me, this sounds like such a good idea. It's very efficient, especially if you get really confused with scales and stuff. This can really help you out a lot. It's just efficient. It's efficient. Work smarter, not harder. Well, I prefer to work harder. But yes, now making a canvas. Do you want to make a canvas, a large canvas, or do you want to buy a large canvas. Now, there are pros and cons for both of these. Making a canvas, you get to actually learn how to make a canvas, which is, to me, very efficient. And it's a very good skill to have because it sticks with you. It's never going to leave you. And if you're ever in a really bad situation where you can't buy a canvas, then you can just make it. But it is very time consuming. We have to source the wood, especially like the wooden planks. And in my experience, I've had to buy it and then carry it all the way to the wood workshop, and it's just long and tiring and upsetting. And then you have to actually make the canvas, which is a very funny learning experience, but it's just not for me. That is not for me. There's actually an alternative to this, actually, which are pre-made crossbars and canvas stretchers, in which you just have to literally hold them together and knock them together for it to work. I've done this one time. Still wasn't a fun experience. Too much manual labor for me. I didn't like it, but it works for you. Or you could just buy a canvas, which is what I enjoy doing as of recent. Downside is that it's expensive. It's not cheap. Or if you do buy a cheap one, it's going to be really bad quality. Or the gesso is just not thick enough, and then you have to re-gesso it. But I guess that beats having to fully gesso it from scratch anyways, if you make your own canvas. But honestly, whatever works for you, whatever is most rewarding. I once heard that my teacher said, I don't know if it was my teacher actually, but someone said about just basically talking down on buying canvases and how it's not professional, whatever. And it's like, yo, it's not that deep, essentially. It's just not that deep. So buy or make your own canvas, but that's what comes along with it. My last tip, because this video doesn't have much to say about it but the last tip is placing on. This isn't really a tip, it's more so an understanding. Now, I see different ways that people paint really large paintings. One way, which is actually probably a very good way, but I don't know how much I like it, is stapling the canvas with no stretcher straight onto a wall and painting from there, and then stretching onto a canvas later. Now, this is not a bad idea. Like I said, it's very efficient because you could just put it onto the wall, gesso it on the wall, paint, do your thing, and then stretch it afterwards. It's a really good idea until you've got nearly 15 rolls of paintings that you then have to stretch and make canvases for. And I'm really big on getting the hard stuff done first rather than doing it later. Also, you could also find with when you do want to stretch it onto the canvas that it's a bit curled up and it's not, because of the moisture in the canvas and the gesso, everything, it just won't be as tight as you want it to be. And it's not a bad idea. A lot of people at my institution do it. And it's an efficient idea, but I wouldn't really recommend it. A lot of professionals do it though. Or you could put the canvas on the wall. If you already have a stretched canvas, you can knock it into the wall and paint on there. It's really easy. Sometimes you can even use just like 2 nails at 2 points of the canvas, and it's really easy. But I found an even cooler way. This is actually a tip that my teacher gave me, and I don't know why I didn't discover this out earlier, but it's really easy. It's to have it on an easel. You can do a massive painting on an easel, actually. You can. I don't know. You can. And if it's really massive, then you can get 2 easels. Now, if you don't have 2 easels, then probably don't do this. I'm somewhere where I can have access to 2, 3, 5 easels. But because then you can adjust the height as well, because adjusting the height is really important because you probably don't want to stretch too much. You don't want to hurt your back, you don't want to hurt your legs, your arms, because arms get really tired as well. And essentially that's actually all for this entire video. Thanks for watching, I guess. And yes, thank you for watching, and take my advice and don't follow your dreams, follow me. Bye.